So imagine this, you've got a bunch of randos on a spring break road trip, except it's the Middle Ages, we're on horseback, and instead of car karaoke, we play a storytelling contest. That is the Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. It is funny, it is shady, and it's surprisingly relatable, even though it is over 600 years old. Let's unravel. All right, you guys. So what we've got here is a frame story. So a frame story is essentially this one big story that has a bunch of little stories brought in. Think storyception. So the core story is that you have 30 pilgrims who meet up at this little pub, this tavern called the Tabard Inn in London in spring. Of course, our story starts in spring because it's very symbolic, new beginnings. Everything is blossoming, everything is blooming. So their goal is to make this religious pilgrimage to Canterbury Cathedral. Now, Canterbury Cathedral is viewed as this incredibly important and historical holy site because there was genuinely an archbishop who had been working there and was actually murdered within the church. And it was the long-held belief that this murder was actually a hit job ordered by the king. And so he kind of goes down in history as this martyr, a person who dies for the cause. So this was very common for a lot of people to make this pilgrimage to this cathedral. And so that's what these 30 pilgrims are doing. So as they're in this tavern, the host of the Tabard Inn comes up with this idea. Okay, well, let's make it fun. Let's make it a contest. On the way there, we're all going to tell 2 stories. On the way back, we tell another 2. And then we vote for the winner. Whoever is the winner gets their dinner paid for them by everyone else. So what ends up happening is this essentially medieval Netflix. It's a mix of romance, tragedy, drama, and roast all around. So it ends up being a bunch of little stories put together because as they're going and coming, you have each and every single pilgrim telling their own story. Okay, so given that there are 30 pilgrims, which is quite a lot, I'm only going to give you the quick and dirty, quick tea highlights of some of the most notable characters. First up, we have the knight. He is very noble, and he tells a story of honor and love. Then you have the miller, who is this chaotic character. He ends up telling this sleazy, scandalous story about adultery. You have the pardoner, who is very much a crooked priest who goes around preaching against greed, even though he is. And then lastly, you have the wife of Bath, who is bold. She's iconic. She's been married 5 times, so she definitely has a lot to say about love, marriage, and power. Okay, so some of the major themes, what's Chaucer really saying here? He really goes in on social classes, first and foremost. He is pretty much shading everybody. Everybody can catch these hands. Nobles, clergy, commoners, no one is safe. Next up, you have hypocrisy and religion. You have a lot of religious characters who are very much crooked, and it really is purposeful to kind of pull back that curtain and show a lot of the deceit and corruption that was prevalent during the time and then throughout history as well. You have key themes of gender and power. The wife of Bath calls out double standards and female autonomy, which is pretty revolutionary for that time. And then lastly, you have storytelling as truth. The stories reflect the storytellers even more than the stories themselves. Each person that is telling a story, they are very much representative of that social class. So in terms of what he's really saying here, he's really going in on the convolutedness of social class, the hypocrisy in religion, the double standards of gender and power, and storytelling being used as a form of truth. All right, so quick Symbolism here, first of all, you have the pilgrimage itself, which is a journey to truth. The entire time they are on this religious journey, they are really showcasing their flaws and human flaws as a whole. And then next up, you have the stories themselves. The stories reflect society and what we hold as ideal versus our reality. All right, so you cannot talk about the Canterbury Tales without pausing and pulling out a couple of key stories. The two that I always really focus on with my students is the Wife of Bath's Tale and the Pardoner's Tale. So first, with the Wife of Bath's Tale, you have a knight who is off riding along a river one day when he comes across this beautiful young maiden, and he uses force to steal away her maidenhead, aka he essays her. And this causes a huge stink, as it should, throughout the kingdom. He's brought before the king, who is absolutely ready to behead this man, as he should. Off with his head! But it's actually the queen who steps in and is like, hold on now. Let's give him a chance. And she gives him a challenge. I will give you a year and 1 day to go around and find out what it is that women most desire. And so for the next year, he goes around asking every lady in the land, what is it that women most desire? And he does not get a straight answer. Every single woman, as we do, would give him a completely different answer. We want fine clothes. We want riches. We want jewels. We want good skills in bed. We want flattery. We want this, that, and the other. And so a day away from his court date, he is absolutely desperate. He's nervous because he still does not have a clear answer that's going to save his life. And so he actually comes across this old hag who offers him the answer in exchange for a favor that she does not specify what it is, nor when she is going to cash it in. But of course, he's desperate and he agrees. So the next day, he stands before the queen and she asks him, well, what is the answer? And he gives her the answer. Women most want self-sovereignty, the ability to speak and decide for themselves, which is the correct answer. And so he ends up saving his life due to the advice that the old hag had given him. The old hag, who is there and stands before everyone, steps forward and decides to cash in her favor, which is marriage. Now, of course, the old man is absolutely horrified, like, oh my God, but you're so old, you're so ugly, no. Well, a deal's a deal. So they do end up married. He is moaning and groaning all the way to their marital bed.
Peter, knock it off.
I can't help it. My body's rejecting it.
So she goes in this whole spiel due to his horrible attitude. And so she actually ends up giving him a choice. Okay, well, that's fine. I'll give you the choice. I can either be young, beautiful, but a cheater, or old and ugly and faithful. And so he deliberates for a second, but ultimately he allows her to make the decision, which really reinforces this whole big idea, which is that women want self-agency. They want equality. And so even though it's kind of a cop-out in a way, she ends up choosing to be young, beautiful, and faithful, which, ew, why does the rapist get all that? It really is still a huge twist, especially if you think about the time period, because essentially, I mean, she's really going, the Wife of Bath is really going in, flipping the script on gender norms, and essentially it's like the proto-feminist mic drop before feminism was even a word. So definitely a revolutionary story. It's funny, it's wild, it's scandalous, it's hard not to get into. All right, so on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Pardoner's Tale. Now, the pardoner himself is openly crooked. He openly admits to the other pilgrims that he just readily scams people out of their money. He sells fake religious relics to people, and then All the while, he's going around preaching these stories against greed while being greedy himself. It's hypocrisy at its absolute finest. So his story is about three guys who are sitting in a bar when all of a sudden, there's been a bunch of death because of the Black Death, and one man is being carried down the street, and it's someone they actually know. So they become outraged, and they're like, gosh, who is this Death that keeps taking all our friends? We're going to go find Death. We're going to go kill Death. And they do find Death, absolutely. So what ends up happening is they come across a bunch of money, and they end up absolutely betraying one another for this money. Long story short, and spoilers ahead, greed kills. The message is absolutely clear. They kill each other for the money. Greed kills. But the whole time that the story is being told, it's being told from someone who openly scams people for their money. I mean, it is absolutely shady. Chaucer is roasting him so hard, roasting the church at this point so hard, and it's just absolutely funny. All right, so as always, we ask ourselves, why does it matter? Why does this 600-year-old story still slap today? First and foremost, I would say it's basically like reality TV. You have a bunch of strangers who are stuck together, constantly trying to one-up each other's drama.
You don't know. You understand that every
It's really like the Real Housewives, but dressed in chainmail. And then it's clocking all the tea, frankly. I mean, Chaucer comes for everybody here. He comes for the rich, the poor, the commoners, the clergy. I mean, no one is safe from his satirical ridicule. It's very much kind of like our shows that expose shady institutions or leaders today. It's giving SNL, honestly. And then you have the wife of Bath, who is an absolute feminist icon. She really flips the script, and she demands that her story and her truth be told centuries before feminism ever existed. And then the partner himself, he really is just reminiscent of that prominent figure, think politician, influencer, celebrity, who's actually shady. They're preaching one story, but they're completely living the opposite life. So this is stuff we see all the time. It's just middle English centuries before. All right, you guys, so there you have it. The Canterbury Tales isn't just an old English text. It is a brilliant commentary on the human flaws of our society. It really shows us that people throughout history have and always probably will be absolutely messy. They can be selfish, they can be hypocritical, they can be wise, sometimes all at the same time. All right, so if you guys liked this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and by all means, drop down in the comments if you have any other stories that you would really love for me to break down, or maybe you just want to comment about which pilgrim you would most want to take a road trip with and trust most with the auxiliary cord. All right, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Be great people. Adios.